Hey everybody, Fail Machine here. Today I have a stupid, simple studio trick that I wanted to share with you. I do this all the time in Ableton. I don't see a lot of people doing it. I don't know if it's useful or if it's complete crap. You decide. I just want to show you. So from days of working in big recording studios with big mixing consoles, there is actually two ways to control volume per channel on a big console. There's the trim knob, and then there's the actual volume fader. The point of the trim knob, it's at the very top of every channel. Usually it's the first thing coming into the rest of the insert chain, and its purpose was to manage gain staging and to overall sort of set the level of that channel so that your faders are all relatively at 0 dB when it kind of sounds somewhat good. So when you go to the mixing phase, you've got a properly gain stage sound, and you're not moving the fader up and down like large distances to get a good sound. They have the equivalent of that trim knob in Ableton under the utility plugin. So we can drop a utility plugin here, and you can see that we have a gain. There it is. There's that trim knob. The other things that utility does, I mean, utility is an awesome thing. It's almost like they named it utility because it provides a ton of utility. You got your trim knob, you've got balance. The point of this balance is when you have a signal that is like left heavy or right heavy, you want to bring it back to center before your inserts so that you're properly any stereo inserts you might have, like leveling compressors, things like that, are working on the signal as centered as possible, and then you bring it back to the left or right or whatever using the pan. You can put the entire channel in mono. You can control the stereo width. You can also put just bass at this crossover frequency in mono, which is huge. If you didn't know you could do that, you need to do that. You want your mono, you want everything below 120 hertz to be mono. Subs are usually in mono. That's a side hack. All right, so we've covered that. So I was mixing down my latest track here, and we'll just have a quick listen. All right, so when she sings "we," it is, it's loud. It just it doesn't really sit with the rest of the vocal line. So I need to bring that down. There's a ton of ways that you could do that. First things first, right? Leveling compressor. Well, this has already been compressed and leveled and processed, and I can't believe I missed that "we" in the vocal processing project, but whatever. The point is that I don't want to put another compressor on this. I'm going to lose the dynamic range of the rest of the performance. I don't want that. So the other option is to ride the volume, and you could ride the volume manually, which is the way you would do it on an analog board. You put your hand on the fader, and when it comes up, you pull it down and bring it back up, and if the board had automation, you'd capture that automation, and then it would do it every time. Really old boards don't have automation capture, which makes for a real fun mixdown session. Don't suggest it. There are plugins for this. Waves has a plugin called Vocal Rider. You could put that on here. That works relatively well. I don't own Vocal Rider, so I'm not going to do that. So in a normal big studio setting, right, we would go to track volume, and we would automate this fader. And I see a lot of people doing this in Ableton. Like they would automate the fade, the actual track volume. That sits pretty well. I might mess with it a little bit more, but that's pretty good, right? Great. And then there's another one over here. I think that "we" is also, it's just the way she says "we," I guess. But so now we go. So yeah, great, wonderful. Now, here's the problem with this. Kind of makes your life more annoying later when you go to do the final mix down, right? So you get the leveled, it's all great. You've got this track volume is attached to automation. So now I'm in this phase. I'm at the end of everything. I'm mixing it down. I've got all my faders in front of me. I'm doing this, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bring down, let's say, I want to bring down this orchestra sound. Great. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. The problem with that is that if I want to mess with this fader, I'm now unlinking. I've now taken over. It's not going to run the automation anymore. So if we watch this, it's not going to move. I can reattach it to the automation, but now I've lost my leveling. So I could go to the trim knob and say, "Oh, great! I can come in here. I can put a utility on here, and I can say I want to move the overall volume up by 1 dB." So now we're up by 1 dB. Great. But if I'm mixing in here and I decide to make a bigger change somewhere else and I need to pull the volume back down, now I got to click on the vocal track again and I got to bring it back down to 0 dB, right? Or down 2 dB, whatever. It's annoying. So instead, let's do the opposite. Let's grab this volume here. We'll clear this envelope. So now the track volume is no longer attached to any sort of automation. And put the utility on, but instead let's actually automate the utilities gain knob. So here I'm going to say, okay, we're going to be at -1, and there's actually more here in that, like, I bring the volume of the vocals up by a relative 1.5 dB for the chorus, etc., etc. But the point is that here we are. I'm going to do all of my vocal leveling and expressive work in automation on this utility. Accomplishes exactly the same thing. But now it's more traditional to the original, like, trim knob idea, in that I am leveling the volume coming into my inserts and my track, and now my fader is essentially used like a regular fader again. So now my final mix down, I can move this up, I can move it down, I can do whatever I want to the faders and not worry about invalidating any sort of latched automation or having to go in and, like, I mean, yeah, you could also, like, select automation and say, I want to move this, I want to take this and I want to move this up by 1 dB, but you're going to mess that up. I guarantee it. So that said, that's my stupid simple studio trick. Use the Ableton utility wherever possible, and think about it as your initial leveling device to get the sound sounding the way you want it, right? I put this on pretty late in the game. Typically I would have used this to make sure that this fader was at 0 dB when it sounded relatively okay, but whatever, we're at -8 dB, but it's fine. So the point is that use the utility, that's all. So thanks for watching. Smash that like button, subscribe, bell, blah, you understand, you get it. Thanks a lot. Bye.